Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast, and you know the drill by now, although this week we're going to be doing something a little bit different, not for any particular reason in the sense of like that it's the 75th Save It for the Cast, although it kind of works out serendipitously that way, not that that's like a milestone, although I guess it kind of is. I can't believe we've really done that many of these, being that they're every other week here, it just so happens that this episode's coming out on the day that our Pursuing Pixels James Jam Game Jam number 3, the third annual, is going to kick off. So I guess I'll just kick things off here by announcing the theme to that. The theme is going to be parallel, and you could take that any way you like: parallel universe, parallel circuitry, parallel parking, parallel shapes. But I'm really excited to kick this one off. We're a little bit behind schedule here. We try to host this now that we started it up. We try to host it every year for our anniversary of starting up the podcast. Obviously, our podcast started up in May initially, so we've hosted the Game Jam in May. In previous years, this year I had to kind of kick things back a little bit with starting up the new job and a few other things going on, some travel that I had going on, the show that John and I's band played last month. But yeah, I'm super excited to kick this Game Jam off, and really can't wait to see what people cook up this year. It seems like we got a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces this time around, and right around the same number of folks that we had last time around. So I'm really excited. Actually, both previous times it's been really consistent across the board. So I'm really excited to get that kicked off here. And if just in case you're unfamiliar with what a game jam is, I'll obviously have a link here in the episode description to our current one. But basically, developers and artists and composers, whatever you want to contribute to a game, you can team up or work independently. But basically, we host ours over the course of a week, and then people have, like, right when that theme gets announced, I'm going to announce it at midnight. So technically a little bit before this episode comes out here, and then people can get started right then. And then there's like a deadline where you got to submit your game by that time, and then we have a week-long period after that for people to kind of play the games and rate them. And, you can obviously try to make a game based on that theme, but you can do it as loosely or as, heavily based on that theme as you'd like. You just kind of use that as some inspiration. But, there's even been a couple of games in previous game jams past, not just in ours, but in game jams in general. Many games from game jams in general, but a couple games from even our Pursuing Pixels game jam that have gone on to like become a full commercially released game. So I really love that, like, it can become that spark of inspiration that you might have not come up with this concept if not for like the theme of a game jam or something like that, or even just the motivation to like work together with the team or just get a project off the ground. Sometimes it's like hard to just get the ball rolling. So I really love or even just to get some practice in. So I'm really, really excited. And then obviously, once I kick the ball over to the conversation here for the normal side of the Save It for the Cast episode here, we're kind of all over the map, talk a little bit of Switch stuff. We actually got to see a little bit of Breath of the Wild on our buddy Mikey when we were in Chicago, or when I was in Chicago. John's there all the time, but he showed us Breath of the Wild on his like Wii U emulator in like full HD 60 frames per second. I forgot what all the other specs were, but he had it on this like super wide screen. Obviously, we just talk about that later. We talk about some physical copies on the Switch for like indie games and stuff like that. Kind of just some like random like game coordinating for the episode, some puzzles. I guess I'll talk about a few of the games that I've been playing here as well. The few games that I just recently scooped up on Switch as of like a day or two ago. And I've been bumping up that, I'm always talking about how I'm cleaning off my wish list, all the games that are like at that $2 price range, and I'm just scooping up everything and or deleting it off my wish list. I still have a few lingering where like there's 2 games currently on sale where I'm like, I got to either buy this time or take it off my wish list, because it's just, there's been too many times it's gone on sale for $2 and I haven't scooped it up. So it's just not going to happen at this point. But yeah, I scooped up a few games that were a little bit above that price point. Now, granted, one was $4, one was $5, and then the other one was $14. So I'll start with that one. And I scooped up Wildfrost, and that was, $14, normally $20. But I'm always a sucker for this game. Just got a brand new update, kind of like a 1.2. I forget what version it is, but just got a new update across PC and Switch and possibly other platforms. I don't know 100% for sure if this game's even available on other platforms, but I'm kind of a sucker for a deck building, roguelike situation, and that's exactly what this game is. It's got a really, really great art style, really reminiscent of Grindstone, like almost to a fault, like not quite. I really, really love the artist on this one. I've actually followed them on social media platforms for quite a long time, and I was really excited to see that they were working on this game. But just like kind of like the structure, especially of like the town situation, there's like this tower and you unlock all these different buildings that you can then unlock new, cards and I don't know if you can craft things. I haven't unlocked everything in this area. Again, I just picked it up a day or two ago. But this is a game that I just, for whatever reason, have not been able to put down, even though it's been a little bit tough to get into. Like there's kind of a lot going on. And there's a few gripes that I have, even with at first I was playing handheld on Switch, and like some of the cards, like they show you like their stats on the bottom of the card, like how many turns they take to execute their move, or maybe another secondary feature or something like that, and it's kind of cut off. And I was thinking, oh well, I'm playing handheld, sometimes they like change the UI scale and stuff like that, so maybe this is just a unfortunate side effect of that. But I popped it on the dock and it still is cut off on some of the like character cards. Now eventually I'll come to learn what some of them are, and you can click on the card and then it zooms in on it and pulls it into the center of the screen, kind of like you're holding it in your hand and looking at it. So you can obviously get around that, but it just was like a little bit unintuitive. And even at times, like the gameplay on Switch here, it does seem like it would work just a little bit better on PC, being able to just click. And you can play, for what it's worth, on touchscreen controls, but again, you're on that small screen on the Switch. It's a little bit tough, although the cards are nice and huge, so it's not terrible for that. I did play a little bit that way, actually, just laying in bed last night. And that's kind of what I would want to say about this game, is that it just, even though it's like a little bit tough to understand or even like fully get like how to get good at this game just yet, it's like kind of got the hooks in me, because a lot of times, like what I'll do before bed, I'll grab my Switch and I'll toss it on the pillow next to me, and then I'll maybe scroll the eShop, if anything. Like I'll think like, oh, maybe I'll play some games before bed, and yeah, I'll just scroll the eShop, maybe buy a game or two, or just shut it down and not really play anything. But last night I fired up some more Wildfrost after playing for like a couple hours last night. And I've just really been having a lot of fun with this one so far, and it looks like I'm gonna unlock a couple different like tribes or groups or whatever you want to call them, and then they're gonna, I'm assume, come with like a different deck or different types of cards or something like that. So I just really like how this game just throws you right into the mix. Like it really is like a roguelike, like right on the very first screen. I mean, there is like an opening like tutorial kind of situation where it like kind of interrupts your first run, but I mean, you're just starting like a run right off the bat, and you get to pick from one of three characters, at least for now. I don't know if anything changes down the line, but kind of like almost Rogue Legacy style. I mean, you don't have that big of a variety, and like, it's not like you're colorblind or you're miniature or anything like that, but like your character might do, have a lower attack, but they're triggered twice when it's their turn or something like that. Or, they have like an extra shield or something like that. There's all sorts of different like various factors and statuses and stuff like that, and that's basically like the main thing. Like once I can learn what all the little symbols mean and I can just like look at those real quick and read them, I feel like this game is going to get a lot more fun for me. But right now I'm still like kind of learning the ropes, but nonetheless I really like the art style, really like the music a lot. The only thing that's a little bit weird is like on the map screen, like when you're going in between levels, number one, it's like just really minimalistic and like no music or anything really. But you kind of like go through like a bunch of different things before you go to a battle. Like you'll get like a charm that you can unlock and attach to a card, buff it in a certain way. Or you'll get like new cards or new characters that you can add to your deck, and you can do like 3 or 4 of those sometimes before you even hit a battle. So it's like, I guess that's just the way it is, but it's just sort of like an interesting pacing to the game. And the battles are a little bit long. Like there's a couple waves of enemies. There's like 2 rows. I'm not going to get too into the mechanics here, but it's just a game that I'm really enjoying. Glad I picked up, and I'm just always a sucker for when a game like is on a pretty significant sale right after a new update. I think I did that with those like Shovel Knight Dig and Shovel Knight. Maybe there wasn't even an update for Shovel Knight Dig, but I know I did that with Pocket Dungeon for sure. But then another game that I picked up on sale was Hob, that I played probably the first like hour of last night. And this is a game I've had on my wish list, not even just on my Switch. I think it's been on like whatever the wish list was on like PS4, maybe even PS3. I don't know how old this game is, probably just PS4. But this is from the developers of the Torchlight games, Torchlight 2. And it's kind of from that same like top-down, isometric almost perspective, more like top-down. But it's nothing like the Torchlight games, which are kind of like Diablo-esque, which if you know me, I'm not a huge fan of that series. But although Torchlight is a little more my style, I like the kind of more colorful, cartoonish elements of it from the tiny snippets of it I've seen. But nonetheless, here with Hob, there was actually a demo on Switch, so I downloaded that and fired it up for a couple minutes and was like, oh, this is actually sweet. Runs pretty good on Switch here. And yeah, played, like I said, the first hour or so last night, and I really, really am into this game a lot. It feels a lot like Death's Door or Tunic, but at the same time, more of a platformer. And again, this game has been around a lot longer than both of those games. And again, it's like there's some combat, but it's so far pretty light. You got a dodge roll. It is that kind of like Souls-esque mechanic. But yeah, you basically have like a top-down Zelda game, but with a lot of 3D top-down platforming that feels really good. You got a run button right off the bat. You can unlock new abilities. Like I unlocked like a sword combo for now, but I can unlock like a shield. You get this like, it's just really cinematic right off the bat. You got this like kind of golem mech character that's like helping you open these doors and punch through walls right off the bat. And then early on, like after you kind of meet this little like giraffe looking animal, these kind of weird creatures, they're like kind of alien looking. But then like this like weird poison thing like grabs your arm, and then your like robot friend just like runs up to you and chops your arm off, and then it goes into like a opening credit sequence right there, which is really cool. I really love how that opening plays out. But then like that robot like gives you their arm, or it's like a golem. It's like made out of stone or something like that. But then you can like you go into like this like forge or whatever, and you can upgrade that arm, and then you eventually get a sword that again you can like get a combo attack that you can upgrade. I'm assuming there'll be even more things down the line. But it's got some like really light RPG elements. The whole world seems to be like all one giant map. There's some fast travel points. I've only found one so far, so I haven't been able to actually like use them, but just everything, even when like I haven't unlocked even any new outfits, but in that like forge area, you go into like this little like chamber where you can like change your outfit, and like same thing with like that fast travel. It's kind of like this like elevator chamber that like pops up from the ground, or maybe it just like morphs. And your checkpoints or save points are kind of the same way. And it's actually pretty tough so far. Like I'm not like the combat's not so much kicking my ass, but like there'd just be like some combat mixed with the hazards, so you're like getting hit by like these electrical, or I can't remember if they're electrical or hot, but like pads or whatever on the ground, or they weren't spikes, but like coils on the wall. But I just really, really love the presentation. It's got like kind of like this cell shaded, like kind of bold outline situation going on. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Borderlands and like the art style, which I'm not a huge fan of those games, but just something about like the presentation and the colors or something like that. But just a really cool take on like the top down Zelda games. And again, if you like Dark Souls, but I was going to say, if you like, what's the name of that game? Tunic and I can't think of Death's Door. If you like those two games, this one feels pretty similar to those, but with a little more like platforming and puzzle solving. I guess there's some puzzle solving and a lot of puzzle solving in Tunic for sure. I didn't play enough of Death's Door, but puzzle solving in both those games. But nonetheless, I really, really am digging Hob a lot. And then the other game I just wanted to give a quick shout out to, because I know John's talked about this one on the podcast proper before, but I finally scooped up Super Crush KO. This is from Vertex Pop, and I've talked about, maybe I haven't talked about, but I've made videos for Graceful Explosion Machine, and they've got a couple other games. They've got this other game called We Are Doom that's like a top-down twin-stick shooter, and they have a newer game, I can't remember the name of it, that just came out, but yeah, Super Crush KO went on sale for like $5, and that's the cheapest I've ever seen it go for. And I finally scooped it up, and I'm really, really, really into this one. The only thing I'll say negative about it is like the game, like the levels, gameplay or whatever gets a little bit repetitive. Like it's basically a side-scrolling beat 'em up, but at the same time, like even though it's repetitive, like it's so fast and frantic and snappy that like you don't even have time to think about it getting repetitive. But there's just like, the enemy variety is like not huge, although there's a decent amount. Like there's some kind of heavier enemies that you have to make sure you dodge. Like you can't really interrupt their attacks except with like your special like ground slam attack, and you really unlock quite a few different moves. And you also have like a rapid machine gun that you don't have any ammo per se, but you have a cooldown essentially. So you have to really kind of juggle your melee, beat 'em up. And this is like a side scrolling, like very much a platformer, not so much that you have to like nail any jumps and like jump over some gaps other than maybe like dodge spikes and stuff like that, or dodge like projectiles, because it gets a little bit not bullet helly, but there's definitely a lot of projectiles, and then you can dash through those bullets and kind of clear them. And then you're just kind of juggling between like making sure you don't overheat that machine gun that you have, and then just juggling enemies. And like I said, you get a ton of extra moves that you unlock just as you kind of play through the levels. Like you get like a hot dog, and it gives you this new, like there's kind of just these little concession stands that you pick up a new thing at, and then the vending machines are like your checkpoints, and if you've lost some health, they'll give you a heart. Some enemies that you kill will drop hearts kind of randomly, it seems, as well. I'm just really, really loving the presentation, too. It's got these like comic book panels at the beginning of each like kind of world. There's even leaderboards for each stage. And then there's like kind of some enemies throughout the regular stage itself, but then you'll get to like these different like, you know, kind of waves of enemies where it like kind of locks the screen and you got to clear these waves, and they'll even be almost like a mini boss sometimes. And then, yeah, I just cleared the first boss. I played like the first like 45 minutes, maybe half hour or so. And really, really was enjoying this one. I know John seemed to be a pretty big fan of it. I know he talked about it on the podcast, so I always assume if he's talking about it, he probably enjoyed it. And yeah, I remember him having good things to say about that one. And yeah, I'm really having fun. I'm excited to see what the second world brings. See if there's maybe some new enemy variety, or even just some new music, or something to just kind of spice things up just a little bit. But yeah, I really don't have anything negative to say about the game. Beyond that, really, really having a good time with all three of those. For that matter, but I'm really looking forward to getting a little more familiarized with the mechanics in Wildfrost. But yeah, I've done more than enough rambling here, so I'm gonna kick things over to John, Randall, and I, and best of luck to everyone on the Pursuing Pixels James Jam Game Jam this year. And until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care.
You can feel the Switch chugging, but this is nothing unusual for any Switch release these days.
We're at the late game Switch releases.
I only hope that the next one allows for Switch games and perhaps an enhanced experience. That would be wonderful.
God.
On the existing games.
That was another thing when we did the sleepover at Mikey's, was he showed us the emulated Wii U version of Breath of the Wild.
At
60 frames per second.
It was probably even more than that. I bet you he was running it at, or no, I don't know.
It looked gorgeous. Like
because he had it on like an extra wide monitor.
He had that curved monitor. Yeah.
Emulated Wii U version. So is the gamepad still associated in this experience, or is that on a separate monitor?
That is a very good question. I don't even know what the gamepad did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just like menus and map, like overworld stuff, like inventory, that sort of stuff.
I'm sure they just modded it out, or whatever.
Because I remember we were talking. You pointed out is like the aspect ratio was wild on Mikey's thing, and like the UI didn't seem like it was freaking out at all. It was like.
Because it was right where it should be, right at the edges of the screen. But he definitely had
like a double wide monitor,
pretty close,
curved monitor.
Oh, those things are nice too.
Yeah,
those are nice monitors.
Getting such a wide field of vision of that game,
especially for that game.
Yeah,
and it just looked so smooth, like. Oh man, it looked really cool. So,
but that's it. Like, all you need is a frame rate up. Like the textures, the cell shading, everything looks so stylized and good that really you don't need to do anything other than just run it a little bit better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really,
Mikey's like that. He's like all the animations support this frame rate. Basically, I don't know how all that stuff works, but.
That's good to know. So basically, he's saying the way they developed it was not specific to the Switch per se. It was open-ended enough that if better hardware was involved, you can get a better experience, which is great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which is true, because I was thinking back to like even when people would play like Mario Galaxy on like an emulator, I was like, man, this looks fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So.
One day.
Yeah.
One day we'll get there.
So what is it? You said SNK versus Capcom Card Fighter?
SNK versus Capcom Card Fighters Clash.
I got questions, but I'm saving them.
Clash. Card Fighters Clash.
For the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Heck yeah.
Circa 1999.
Nice.
So what do we want to chat about / what order do we want to chat about in? Are you planning on talking about both of those games, John? Do you want to pair them? Do you want to split them?
Well, okay, so what were your games again, Kev?
Gunbrella and Nobody Saves the World, which would be more like kind of talking just like co-op playing with DJ. It is a cool game though. It's actually, I didn't realize that. I knew about the game. I didn't realize it was from the people who made Guacamelee.
Yeah, right. I'll probably do Pseudo Regalia just because I feel like I'll be playing. I think there's more meat left uncovered, left unchewed on Gravity Circuit as opposed to like Pseudo Regalia. I think I have all of the like core mechanics unlocked and like the gameplay loop like kind of under wraps, whereas I think there's a lot more in Gravity Circuit where I don't have like uncovered yet.
So table Gravity Circuit?
Yeah, I've only beaten 2 out of 8 of the Mega Man bosses.
Okay. Randall, are you aware of this game, by the way? I'm pretty sure you are.
No.
Gravity Circuit?
Just what John said about it being a better Mega Man. That's the extent of what I'm aware.
Every single time that we would
copy's coming out soon.
We'd encounter something and it would just be like a new mechanic or a new thing, and I just be like, I wish I could do this, and then I could instantly do that. And I was like, this is a game made specifically for all of my complaints about Mega Man.
Ooh.
It's well done stuff. Like it's
the like basically infinite the no lives, infinite checkpoints, like, but like you have to spend more money based on like if you're regenerating your health at a checkpoint like successively.
Okay.
And then they have one like immediately before the boss. And so like it's like the bosses are really complicated and have like a lot of like what's the word I'm looking for? Segments or sections, phases.
Yeah. Phases.
So like
yep.
But there's no like penalty for dying to them, so it's just you slowly learning and getting better, and then you can replay them and get all of the secrets that you missed, and it's just it's so good. It's everything about it is so good.
Sounds like they knew exactly what they wanted to make.
Yeah, and that's not to mention that the gameplay is just amazing though. Yes, because it's actually not that Mega Man-y in the gameplay. Like, it feels like it, but it's like kind of more of like a brawler. Like,
yes, it's not projectile based. It is like punch based, but
it
has
that's even more up my alley potentially.
Punch and grappling hook based.
Yes, the grappling.
It's hook is so slick.
Okay,
I did just unlock a projectile ability, so
I was gonna say I bet you they throw some stuff in there.
Man.
Yeah. And you get more equipment that you can unlock and more abilities that you can unlock that are mapped to the directional buttons plus combo. Like, everything about it is just so tailor-made to exactly what I was like. Every time I've played a Mega Man game and be like, I wish this was a little bit more like this. And it's it.
You playing on Steam Deck?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, this looks sick.
It's so charming. It's so well everything about it is ideal.
Yeah, pixel art, the music, everything.
This Switch physical copy looks pretty damn good too.
That's what you're waiting on, Kev.
I'll be getting that, and I'll be getting. I really want to get. They haven't actually put up the pre-order yet, and I normally don't go for like those pre-orders on a random website that you have to order some bullshit game from. But like, I'm gonna do it for that Curse Crackers game because I love that game so much.
Oh yeah,
and on top of that, like those guys did that like interview stream with me. Like I'm just like I just want to support those guys. They say they announced another new like top-down Zelda game, style game that I forget the name of it, but it looks really cool. I just feel like those guys are on fire, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna help them keep that train rolling.
Absolutely.
And that's For Whom the Bell Toils.
Yeah. Which, speaking of, they just put that Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls game on the Japanese Game Boy Online Switch shop.
Nice.
Or whatever. Not the shop, but the Game Boy Online.
Yeah.
You know what game I'm talking about?
No.
It's like The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls. It's a Game Boy game from Nintendo. It's Intelligent Systems developed it, which I didn't know.
Oh.
But it's kind of like a top-down adventure game meets like a side-scrolling game, but you just like bump into enemies to initiate battle.
Ooh.
I don't know. I played a minute of it, but it's all in Japanese, obviously, so I didn't really, grok what was going on.
Oh. Gosh, no, I had no awareness of this.
I could have sworn you were the one that made me aware of this game, but I guess I just kind of always assume that when I know about a rare, random retro game. But
no, not this one.
I could have sworn like when we talked about that Gator pinball game that this game came up.
I could see how you would think that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I just found it. Maybe when I was like looking it up, something came up.
Niche Game Boy games.
Yeah, but it looks cool. It's a shame that it didn't get the translation, but
I know.
I kind of get why it wouldn't if it is like an RPG and whatnot.
Yeah.
Ooh, the Shin Megami Tensei games are on sale, leading up to 5 coming out.
How many hours would you say you have, John? How many hours?
In my life?
Have you seen John's logged hours on his Switch and or Steam Deck?
You'd be surprised where I can squeeze in some extra minutes. Yeah, Kevin, how many times we were literally getting ready for bed, and I'm like, let me squeeze in like 10 minutes of gaming on. Let me squeeze in I'm just booting up. I'm gonna do one thing of Dark Souls 2, and then I'm gonna shut it down. Then I'm gonna boot up one Monster Hunter fight, and then I'll shut it down. I was like, ooh, this might be a symptom of some mental.
The way John basically does the same thing that I do, except I never actually boot up any of the games. I just sit there at the home screen and go, maybe I'll play this.
Yeah.
Actually,
analysis paralysis.
Maybe I'm not in that mood. Maybe I'll play this. But in that time, John's fired up each of those games and
I've done a
little
loop
chunk of it.
Chasm where I've killed 4 enemies, gotten one drop, and be like, all right, that's a little bit more chipped away at that rock.
Or he'll just fire it up and literally talk to me and Lauren while he just plays Dark Souls 2 and literally just keeps respawning at this bonfire so we can keep trying to farm this one freakish looking enemy. He's like I think this thing. Well, with what he was doing, because he's one-shotting this one enemy with his what was that thing called? That
it was a basilisk, and it drops all the infusion stones. And I was trying to get another bolt stone, but it was just dropping raw stones, and those scale to the wrong stat.
And John literally is sitting there just one-shotting this thing, okay,
having a conversation.
Go back to the bonfire. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Rinse and repeat.
I'm not well.
Oh man, it was so funny. But honestly, it not that particular gameplay loop that you were doing there, but it made me a little bit jealous, man, because I'm like, I wish I could just pick a game and fucking play it for a minute.
It's not good. It's not a good way to play games. When
neither is sitting
compulsion.
there. But neither is sitting there and playing and not playing any of them and just going, what should I play? I just it's, I don't know. I feel like
you're buying all the games for that one day. You'll be able to play the games, right?
Exactly.
Right? Not to say nothing of the remakes that'll come out in 5 years after, and you'll be like, oh, I bought this other version.
I can't believe I just put Shin Megami Tensei 3 into my cart. Why am I an idiot?
Don't buy
but Etrian Odyssey. Oh, hold on.
Don't do it, Undertaker.
I mean, that was also in Outer Wilds where you would shoot a little drone that would take photos, and it would actually it had its own physics, so it would travel on an orbit if you shot it far enough, and then you could just continuously refresh the camera on it, and it would show you what it's looking at. And so you'd have a little picture in the bottom hand of your screen with this thing that's moving at a completely different rate than you, the character, are.
Jeez.
Yeah.
God damn, I need to fucking go back to Outer Wilds. I've been playing so many other things, but I've just been thinking about it recently of just oh man, I want to go back and just fly and do a puzzle.
Yeah.
on the long
Did you
list.
finish that game?
Not even close,
Ugh.
dog.
Okay.
I got to so many like incredible moments where like it just like it unlocked stuff in my brain where it's like, holy shit, I can do this. And then like it kind of felt a little overwhelming where it's like, oh man, I can go back and go to all these. I don't have any new abilities. I just have new knowledge of how like physics or this universe works.
Right.
And like that is such a good feeling. Like it really does. It's such a unique like puzzle structure. In the same way of like Baba Is You, where you're looking at verbs or you're looking at things that can interact and you're like, I never even thought those two things could interact in that way.
Right.
And then like suddenly that like calibrates how your brain is approaching puzzles in the space.
What options you have.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Games are good. Video games are good, man.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I got to get back in my
certain
groove.
video games.